to sit there for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day on a meditation cushion, and then get up the next day and do it again and again. But I started, when I started practicing like that more, in the container of a land center, I was benefiting from it. I came back from that week tune more relaxed probably than I'd felt in years, more connected to myself, to my friends, to my loved ones, to my nieces, to my family, to my mother. I felt open in a way that I hadn't experienced. And so I wanted to do more of that. And I was really looking forward to sitting a Dathun. I finished up work around noon, and I got in the car, and I drove from New York City up to Barnet, Vermont, in Carmicholing. And as I drove, like every mile I drove, the hecticness and the craziness and the stress and the noise and the grit and the competitiveness and the busyness fell off of me every mile I drove north, until I got to Carmicholing, which is in northern Vermont, the Northern Kingdom, where it's really quiet and pristine and beautiful. And I got in my car in one world, and I got out of my car in a totally different one. And that's how my Dathun started. You're sitting in the shrine room with, in my case, it was a small group, so there were maybe 15 other people, and you take your seat, you sit down, cross your legs, and the gong rings, and you sit, and you're there, and maybe for half an hour or 45 minutes, maybe you lose track of time, and then maybe somebody rings a gong, and you walk around the shrine room, and you walk around the shrine room, and then you sit back down. And for me, I was trying to follow instructions. I was trying to recognize when I had stopped following my breath, like you do in shamatha meditation, and that I had entered sort of a fantasy world. And I'd make up a story about someone, and then I would laugh about it, and I'd let it go. And I found it, my mind really settled. You know how runners talk about building up a base? That's what my Dathun, I think, achieved for me as a meditator. It was a struggle prior to that. Like I would be like, I'm going to be here for an hour, and it would be a fight. But after sitting day after day after day, hour after hour after hour, and then if you want to take a break, maybe you walk down the hall, maybe get a drink of water. There's nowhere to go, and a week goes by, and another, and you're still sitting. I built up a base. I stopped fighting it. I just realized, like, it's just me. It's just my body here holding me up. My spine is enough. It's enough just to be here, me, on this cushion with these people who arise. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sitting every day for 7-8 hours, for the most part, largely in silence throughout one's day, eating oryoki style, which is these sort of nestled little, like Russian doll style nestled bowls. It can be a little bit daunting. Once you place yourself in a context where there is a measure of simplicity with regard to your actions and how you move your body and how you eat your meals, it can be a little unnerving almost at first, because you begin to experience just how busy one is and how busy we are, and how even when we think we're proceeding with our lives in a way that's sort of measured and rational, really we're grabbing food on the go, we're at a coffee shop in line, we're checking our text messages, we're talking to somebody, we're sending a text message, we're paying for a coffee, we're getting a call, we're answering a call, we're rushing home, we're putting dinner together. And it's, when you're in motion or in movement, it's hard to realize how much motion and movement you're in. So then when you go to Dathun, it's such a powerful contrast because things are really pared down to the minimal. You sleep, you engage in silence, you sit, theoretically without moving. Essentially, you're sitting in meditation posture. You're minding all aspects of your speech. You're working with a meditation practice, so when you're having distracting thoughts or restless thoughts or difficult thoughts, you're making at least some minimal effort to relate to your thoughts instead of just being captured in them. And it can take a few days, it can take a week, it can take 2 weeks to settle into that environment a little bit. And just even get accustomed to the fact that you don't have to rush anywhere. You don't have to move your body unnecessarily. You don't have to stay engaged in overwhelming thoughts. You don't have to pursue toxic or self-limiting conversations in your mind. We do all of those things so much by force of habit. It can take a little time, once you get to Dathun, to finally get to the point where you can kind of go, you can exhale and you realize, oh, I'm actually, for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, I'm in a context where I can find a little bit of respite from the force of these patterns that are always pushing me to the next thing.
Each Dathun's different. I mean, there used to be 4 Dathuns a year, one for each season, Summer Dathuns were hot. Spring Dathuns were really nice weather-wise. You start seeing, daffodils and crocuses popping, and fall as well. I mean, the two intense seasonal changes, weather and beauty and mind shifting all simultaneously. When you've had enough, you do this. And as a server, you're supposed to keep serving until you've been given your cue. So not getting a cue, I just kept putting miso soup into this person's bowl until it was completely overflowing everywhere. Almost anything like that is going to be taken with joy and understanding rather than anger and frustration. Dathun's taught me a lot about patience and about sharing space with joy. We would practice Luzhong every morning for like a half hour or so. The combination with movement and stillness in practicing the elasticity of your body to put it into a very, very still place, the 7-point posture, it was extremely helpful. I definitely remember that as being a profound moment for me in learning how to work with my body and my mind. We'd been putting like cushions under this leg, maybe one here for the arm, one in the back, I figured I'd make fun of everybody, including myself. So I took a whole bunch of cushions, random cushions. I built a throne out of them to make myself comfortable. There was a time during walking meditation, the Dathun walk, which is outdoors in winter, and a snowball hit somebody. And all of a sudden that entire Dathun walk exploded into a snowball fight, spontaneously, out of nowhere. Like everybody's just walking in meditation. I forget who hit who, but right after that snowball hit somebody in the back of their hood, everybody went diving for snowballs, like almost instantaneously.
I've done longer retreats. I've done, 2-week program retreats where I was able to really get into a rhythm. And I think for me, when I think about doing a Dathun, it is sort of stripping away all of the Dharma entertainment and really just practicing and just sitting more and just practicing more. And I'm interested to see what happens when you're continue to sort of empty out and settle. So, I noticed for myself after, a week I feel pretty settled, and then I'll go through a bit of a restless period, and then settle some more. And I can imagine that pattern will continue. And I think that sort of process of settling and then sort of waves of mental activity and sort of uneasiness and giving myself a chance to experience as much of my emotions and my mind as I can is important for my practice. So I feel a bit limited when I really appreciate my practice. I try and practice on a regular basis. I try and practice every morning. And I think that regular practice feels a lot more stable after I have some periods of longer sitting. And so I can also imagine that having a period of sitting of 2, 3, 4 weeks would really deepen my daily practice. I'm a little worried about oryoki and eating really slowly, and and I am anxious to have an opportunity to practice the oryoki as part of the Dathun. That's one of the things that stands out in my mind as a new practice for me, and just to enjoy my food and have that really be a practice. And I don't like to be hungry. And I've heard some people say that they're hungry when they eat oryoki, so I don't know if any of that's true. But in terms of my practice for a month, I feel ready. I feel like I have done a lot of preparation just in terms of settling and being ready to sit. And I was able to do a cabin retreat, which gave me some confidence that I have the ability to sit, and that I have the practices that I need to ground myself, and that I have some basic stability of my mind, or at least I did at that point, to be able to keep sitting. One of the things that makes me, if you can say excited about sitting for a month, is sitting with 30 people or 20 people, and the energy that generates without talking. I feel it would be really wonderful to take a break from talking and find a different way to be with people. and share space with people. And in terms of what I imagine it may feel like after a month of sitting, I remember someone who was interviewed after they finished the 3-year retreat at Gampo Abbey, and they said, well, you know, each year they go in and then they take a break for a month or two before they re-enter retreat for the next year. And they said every consecutive year they felt lighter. It felt a little bit less solid, like that as a, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, lighter, a little bit lighter.